Alicia Morgan grew up in a neighborhood where dreams often went unfulfilled. Shadowed by the constant hum of factories and the unrelenting grind of working-class life. Her parents, James and Lorraine, were hard-working, dedicated, and resilient people, making ends meet as factory workers. From a young age, Alicia learned the importance of perseverance and hard work, traits her parents instilled in her through both words and example. In their small apartment, the walls were lined with evidence of Alicia's ambition. Every drawing from elementary school, every spelling test with a gold star, and every certificate she earned at school found a place of pride in the Morgan household. Lorraine would lovingly pin up her daughter's accomplishments, telling Alicia, "One day, all this hard work will pay off. You're going to change things for yourself. And maybe even for others." Alicia held tightly to these words. She spent her nights studying, staying up late in the dim light of her bedroom lamp, determined to rise above the limitations of her environment. By high school, she was a standout student, sharp, ambitious, and well-known among her peers for her tenacity. Teachers praised her intellect, and counselors noted her potential. But Alicia was also aware that she faced hurdles many of her classmates didn't. The first was financial, the second was her skin color. Growing up as a black woman in a world that too often underestimated people like her, Alicia was no stranger to assumptions. She noticed it in subtle moments. The way shopkeepers followed her movements a little too closely when she went downtown. The times she had been seated near the back of a restaurant even when there were seats available up front. The rare but cutting comments made by classmates about where people, like her, could succeed. She learned to let those stings roll off her, building resilience and focusing on the future she believed she could create. Her dedication paid off. With hard-earned scholarships, Alicia was accepted into one of the top universities in the state. Majoring in business administration with a focus on marketing, she thrived, standing out not only academically but socially, gaining respect and admiration from professors and classmates alike. By the time she graduated, she had a strong network and the skills to make a name for herself in the corporate world. Landing her first job at a prestigious marketing firm felt like stepping onto the path she had dreamed of for so long. Here, she would get the chance to prove herself, to rise, to show everyone that the barriers she had faced weren't insurmountable. And though she encountered her share of microaggressions and doubts from others in the firm, she quickly distinguished herself as a creative thinker and strategic powerhouse. Her early successes turned heads, and her rise in the firm was nothing short of meteoric. But Alicia wasn't immune to the realities of her industry. Despite her achievements, she often found herself working twice as hard to gain half as much recognition as her colleagues. Meetings she led were often punctuated by questions doubting her ideas, and praise was slower to come her way. Promotions went to others with less experience, and she was routinely passed over when high-profile clients needed account managers. Rather than succumbing to frustration, Alicia channeled her energy into her work. Knowing that each success was a stepping stone, she embraced the challenges, her determination only growing stronger. And as the years passed, she rose through the ranks, becoming well regarded for her results-driven strategies and transformative marketing campaigns. By the time Alicia was in her late 20s, she was handling some of the firm's most difficult clients and taking on assignments that others found daunting. Her name began to spread beyond the walls of her company, catching the attention of other industry leaders. Major corporations started reaching out, eager to discuss opportunities with this young powerhouse who seemed to turn every project she touched into gold. It was during this pivotal moment in her career that she experienced an encounter that would change her trajectory forever. On a late Friday afternoon, Alicia wrapped up a demanding series of client meetings. She was dressed in a plain blouse and slacks, her hair pulled back in a loose bun, her usual polished look slightly worn after a long week. It had been an exceptionally productive day, and feeling a rare moment of lightness, she decided to stop by La Vie Étoilée, an exclusive high-end boutique downtown. On her way home, Alicia wasn't in the habit of making splurge purchases, but she had been eyeing a particular handbag, one she'd seen in a magazine and thought might be a nice reward for herself after her recent successes. When she arrived at La Vie Étoilée, she noticed the shop's elegant, marble-lined entrance and the glistening displays that hinted at luxury well beyond what she'd normally consider. She was nervous, but she'd grown accustomed to these high-end environments. Having freak you. Just as she reached the door, she was stopped by a tall, impeccably dressed doorman whose expression immediately betrayed his assumptions. He gave her a quick, dismissive glance, eyeing her attire with a subtle curl of disdain in his lip. "Excuse me, ma'am," he said, with a tone that was polite on the surface but laced with cold condescension. "I believe this may not be the type of store you're looking for." Alicia's initial reaction was disbelief. Surely this couldn't be happening. She managed to compose herself and replied calmly, "Actually, I was just hoping to take a quick look inside." The doorman's face remained impassive as he replied, "I'm afraid we reserve the right to deny entry. We try to keep a certain atmosphere here at La Vie Étoilée." The implication was clear. She didn't belong here. Humiliated, Alicia stood still for a moment, letting his words sink in. Around her, she noticed a few other customers, well-dressed and predominantly white, watching with polite disinterest. As if this kind of exclusion was routine and unquestioned, she felt her cheeks flush, both from the sting of rejection and the all-too-familiar feeling of being judged by her appearance. Without another word, Alicia turned and walked away, her mind racing as she left the boutique behind. This wasn't the first time she had faced prejudice. But something about this moment felt different. It was a reminder of every obstacle she had encountered in her life, every closed door, every second-guessing glance, every person who had assumed she couldn't afford to be where she was, couldn't belong in the spaces she had worked so hard to reach. By the time she reached her apartment, the sting of that rejection had simmered down, replaced by a sense of resolve. She poured herself a glass of water, sat down, and reflected on everything she had accomplished so far. She thought about her mother's words. "One day, you'll change things, not just for yourself, but for others." This wasn't just about her anymore. It was about creating a world where no one else would have to experience this. That night, Alicia went to bed with a new determination taking root in her mind. This would not be the end of the story. A few weeks later, while attending a business event, Alicia was introduced to a high-profile investor who had heard of her remarkable work in marketing. During their conversation, the investor mentioned that La Vie Étoilée's parent company, Maison de Luxe, was in financial trouble. The once thriving brand had been struggling to keep up with changing consumer demands, and its sales had been in steady decline. Rumors had been circulating in the industry that the company might be seeking new leadership, or even looking to sell off parts of its business. Alicia's mind immediately flashed back to that day outside La Vie Étoilée. The memory was still fresh, and the pain of that experience had not faded. But now, instead of feeling the sting of rejection, she saw something else: opportunity. Over the next few days, she couldn't shake the idea. Maison de Luxe was a prestigious brand with enormous potential, and in the right hands, it could thrive again. Alicia was confident she could turn the company around. Her background in revitalizing brands and her experience in high-stakes negotiations meant she was well prepared for the challenge. After some careful consideration, she reached out to the investor she had met at the event and expressed her interest. Within weeks, she was in talks with Maison de Luxe's board of directors, negotiating terms for an acquisition. She assembled a team, secured investors, and began the intense process of structuring the deal. It wasn't easy. There were numerous hurdles, from investors who doubted her capability to board members who questioned her vision. Alicia often found herself fighting to be taken seriously, her every decision scrutinized in ways she knew her counterparts didn't face. But the memory of that day at La Vie Étoilée fueled her determination. She had a plan, a vision, and the experience to bring it to life. After months of exhaustive negotiations, she finally sealed the deal. Alicia Morgan was now the CEO of Maison de Luxe and, by extension, the owner of La Vie Étoilée. The irony wasn't lost on her. A year earlier, she had been turned away at its doors. Now, she held the keys. But Alicia didn't see this as mere revenge. She saw it as an opportunity to make a statement, a message that success could be achieved without bowing to prejudice and judgment. Alicia decided she would return to La Vie Étoilée, not as a customer seeking entry, but as the one in charge. She wanted to make a statement to the staff, the company, and herself. Exactly 1 year after the incident, Alicia arrived at the boutique's doors. This time, she was dressed in a sleek designer suit that she had selected with care. Her hair elegantly styled, exuding the calm confidence of someone who knew she belonged wherever she chose to be. The same doorman who had turned her away was there, but this time, he greeted her with a polite nod. Unaware of her identity, Alicia walked past him, head held high, into the boutique's opulent interior, where the atmosphere was as luxurious as she remembered. Everything was just as it had been the year before. But this time, Alicia was different. She approached the counter, where she saw the same employee who had dismissed her a year ago. He didn't recognize her at first. But when she handed him her business card, his expression shifted from indifference to shock as he read the title beneath her name, Chief Executive Officer. Maison de Luxe. Ms. Morgan, I didn't realize, he stammered, his face turning pale. Alicia met his gaze, her voice calm but firm. A year ago, I was turned away at this door because of how I looked. She said, today, I own this place. The store fell into silence. Other customers and staff looked on, some with expressions of surprise, others with admiration. Alicia didn't raise her voice, she didn't need to. Her presence alone was enough to send a powerful message. But she hadn't come here to fire anyone or to settle a score. Instead, she wanted to establish a new culture for her company, one where every customer was treated with respect. Turning to the store manager, she spoke with authority. From now on, I expect every person who walks through these doors to be welcomed and treated with dignity. That's the new standard. With her message delivered, Alicia left the boutique, feeling a profound sense of fulfillment. She had transformed a painful experience into an opportunity for change, not just for herself, but for anyone who had ever felt judged or unwelcome. As she walked back to her car, she allowed herself a small, victorious smile. The boutique that had once symbolized exclusion and judgment was now under her leadership. Embodying respect and inclusion, Alicia Morgan had not only changed her own story but had set in motion a legacy of dignity and respect for all who came after her. After her symbolic return to La Vie Étoilée, Alicia knew her work had only just begun. Her vision was not just to run the brand but to transform it. To make it a beacon of respect and inclusivity. She wanted Maison de Luxe to become a household name, known not only for luxury but for the values it upheld. The first step was to implement comprehensive staff training, focusing on customer service, sensitivity, and inclusivity. Alicia knew that real change required more than just policies, it required a shift in mindset. She brought in a team of experts who specialized in diversity and inclusion training, creating a program that would help employees recognize and address their biases, build empathy, and understand the importance of treating every customer with respect. The staff at La Vie Étoilée were initially skeptical. Some of them viewed the changes as unnecessary, an overreaction to a few isolated incidents. But Alicia insisted on personal accountability. She made sure every employee, from store clerks to top executives, attended the training, including those who had dismissed her in the past. During one of the sessions, Alicia decided to share her own experience with the employees. She stood before the group, her story both a reminder and a lesson. When I walked into this store a year ago, I was denied entry because someone judged me by my appearance, she said, her voice calm but resolute. But what happened that day goes beyond me. It's about everyone who has ever felt like they don't belong. I want us to be a brand where no one is made to feel that way. That's what Maison de Luxe will stand for. Her words resonated deeply. Many employees hadn't realized the impact of their actions until they saw how a single judgmental moment had shaped Alicia's journey. Some apologized to her directly, expressing regret for any role they might have played in the store's previous culture. Alicia accepted their apologies but reminded them that actions spoke louder than words. She wanted to see them embody the new standards through their behavior toward every customer. With training underway, Alicia turned her attention to Maison de Luxe's public image. She wanted the world to know that the brand was changing, that it was evolving to meet the needs of a more diverse and inclusive audience. She worked with her marketing team to develop a campaign that would reintroduce Maison de Luxe as a company that valued people from all backgrounds. The campaign, titled Luxury for All, featured a diverse array of models representing different races, ages, and body types. Instead of the traditional high fashion approach, the advertisements highlighted warmth, confidence, and elegance, emphasizing that luxury should be a space of welcome and belonging for everyone. Alicia wanted customers to see themselves in the brand, to feel that they could walk into any Maison de Luxe store and feel valued. The response was overwhelmingly positive. Customers who had felt alienated by the brand's previous exclusivity were excited to see the change. Social media buzzed with praise for the campaign, and major fashion publications featured Alicia in interviews, commending her bold and refreshing leadership. Maison de Luxe saw an increase in both foot traffic and sales as people came in to experience the brand's new culture firsthand. Alicia's work began to have a ripple effect, inspiring other companies in the industry to reconsider their own practices. Soon, high-end brands across the fashion world were re-evaluating their approaches to customer service and inclusivity. Some executives reached out to Alicia directly, asking for advice on how to implement similar programs in their companies. Through her journey, Alicia found herself invited to speak at conferences and events, sharing her insights on overcoming bias and building inclusive business practices. She spoke about her own experiences as a Black woman in the corporate world, the prejudices she had faced, and how she used those obstacles to fuel her success. Her words empowered others, especially young people of color, who looked up to her as a role model and a reminder that barriers could indeed be broken. One day, as Alicia was visiting La Vie Étoilée for a routine inspection, she spotted the doorman who had initially denied her entry. He had kept his job but had been one of the employees most affected by the new training, showing a sincere willingness to change. Seeing her, he walked up hesitantly, his face a mixture of regret and gratitude. "Ms. Morgan," he began, his voice almost shaking, "I know I may never fully make up for how I treated you that day. But I want you to know that working under your leadership has changed me. I see things differently now. I understand why respect is so important. Why it can't be based on appearances." Alicia looked at him thoughtfully. She saw in his face a genuine sense of remorse, and she knew that he had indeed changed. "I appreciate that," she said. "Change is a process. I'm glad you've embraced it." In that moment, Alicia realized that the real triumph was not just her own success, but the transformation she was able to inspire in others. She had turned a place that once represented exclusion into a symbol of respect and unity. Under Alicia's guidance, Maison de Luxe grew into one of the most respected brands in the industry. Known for both its luxury and its progressive values, the company's success inspired her to go even further. She established a foundation to support underrepresented talent in fashion and business, creating scholarships, mentorship programs, and grants to empower those who might not otherwise have the opportunity to thrive. Alicia's story became well known, a tale of resilience, courage, and vision that resonated far beyond the fashion industry. For her, this journey had been about more than just achieving a personal victory, it had been about creating a legacy. She hoped that, through her foundation, she could help young people of all backgrounds to pursue their dreams without the limits of prejudice. Her parents, who had sacrificed so much to give her a better life, watched with pride as their daughter's influence grew. They saw in her the values they had instilled: hard work, compassion, and the belief that change was possible. Years later, Alicia found herself standing outside La Vie Étoilée once more, looking up at the storefront that had once turned her away. This time, she was surrounded by a group of young interns from her foundation, talented individuals she was mentoring, guiding toward their own careers in fashion and business. She turned to them with a smile, her heart filled with gratitude and purpose. "Remember," she said, "success isn't just about achieving your own goals. It's about lifting others up with you. It's about using your achievements to make the world a better place." As they entered the boutique together, Alicia felt a sense of peace. She had transformed her pain into purpose, her success into a pathway for others to follow. The store that once represented exclusion now stood as a testament to resilience, unity, and the belief that everyone, regardless of their appearance or background, deserves to belong. Alicia Morgan's journey had come full circle, and she knew that the story was far from over. Her legacy would continue in every person she inspired, every barrier she helped to break, and every life she touched along the way. She had not only changed her own story but had set in motion a lasting wave of change, one that would ripple far beyond the walls of Maison de Luxe. As the years passed, Alicia's influence continued to grow, expanding beyond the boundaries of fashion and into global conversations about equity and opportunity. She received invitations to speak at international business forums, universities, and community organizations. Her speeches were powerful, inspiring countless others to push past limitations and fight for change. Alicia was especially committed to her foundation, which she named the Horizon Initiative. Through it, she provided resources and mentorship to underrepresented talent in various fields, not just in fashion but in other industries where opportunity was often limited by prejudice. The Horizon Initiative grew rapidly, funding education programs, skill-building workshops, and career advancement opportunities for thousands of young people. She was determined to give them what she had needed most when she was starting out, not just financial support but encouragement, guidance, and an unwavering belief in their potential. Every year, Alicia organized a gala for the Horizon Initiative, bringing together influential leaders, philanthropists, and supporters from around the world. The event highlighted the success stories of young people who had benefited from the Foundation's programs, sharing how they had used their newfound skills to excel and create positive change. At the latest gala, one of the Foundation's scholarship recipients, Marcus Young, took the stage to share his story. Marcus, an aspiring designer from a similar working-class background as Alicia's, had faced his own share of obstacles. Through the Horizon Initiative, he received a scholarship that allowed him to attend a prestigious design school and the mentorship he needed to believe in himself. "When I was young," Marcus said, addressing the crowd, "I felt invisible, as if the world had already made up its mind about who I was and what I could achieve. But through this foundation, I found people who saw me for my potential, not my circumstances. They invested in me, and now I'm ready to take that investment and pay it forward." The crowd erupted in applause, and Alicia felt a profound sense of pride. She could see the ripple effect of her work, the impact of believing in someone's potential rather than limiting them based on stereotypes or assumptions. She knew that her work had helped Marcus and countless others find their paths. Meanwhile, Maison de Luxe had transformed into a powerful brand known for its inclusive vision and commitment to social responsibility. Alicia launched new product lines that celebrated diverse cultures and included designs from up-and-coming talent across the globe. She partnered with artisans from underserved communities, showcasing their work and creating opportunities for them to reach a worldwide audience. The company's stores also became known for their welcoming atmosphere. Alicia's strict standards of respect and inclusivity had become a fundamental part of the brand. Maison de Luxe's transformation attracted media attention, and it became a case study in business schools as an example of how corporate values could drive not only success but also societal progress. Sales soared, and Maison de Luxe's brand value skyrocketed. But more importantly, it became a place where everyone felt they belonged, no matter their appearance, background, or bank balance. Alicia's journey continued to bring her into contact with other leaders who shared her vision. She partnered with CEOs from various industries to launch an initiative called the Open Doors Alliance, a coalition dedicated to promoting equity and inclusivity in the workplace. Together, they developed programs to encourage hiring practices that valued diverse perspectives and fostered career development for underrepresented groups. The Open Doors Alliance hosted summits, workshops, and mentorship programs, and soon, businesses from every sector were joining the movement. Alicia's belief that the corporate world could be a force for social good began to gain traction. Many of the alliance's members implemented policies inspired by Maison de Luxe's transformation, changing the cultures of their own companies and setting a new standard across industries. One afternoon, Alicia returned to La Vie Étoilée, the boutique where her journey had come full circle. It was a quiet day, and she took her time walking through the store, admiring how much had changed. The staff greeted every customer warmly. The environment was vibrant, and there was a clear sense of community among the employees and patrons alike. The space now felt open and inviting, a reflection of the values she had embedded into the brand. As she wandered through the store, she overheard a young woman in casual clothes hesitating by the entrance. The new doorman smiled at her, welcoming her warmly and inviting her to explore. "It doesn't matter what you're wearing or where you're from," he said gently. "Please, come in. You're welcome here." Alicia watched the young woman's face light up with gratitude, and she felt a sense of peace and fulfillment. La Vie Étoilée was no longer a symbol of exclusion. It was a place where everyone was invited to experience the beauty and elegance the brand had to offer. In that small interaction, Alicia saw the impact of her years of hard work. As Alicia's influence continued to grow, she began to reflect on her journey with a deep sense of purpose. She knew that her story was part of a larger movement, one that was about more than personal success. She had built a legacy not just for herself, but for everyone who had ever felt judged, dismissed, or excluded. One day, while meeting with her board of directors, Alicia announced her next vision, an educational institute, dedicated to developing leaders who would prioritize empathy, respect, and inclusivity in their careers. Named the Morgan Institute for Inclusive Leadership, the center would offer scholarships, workshops, and networking opportunities for future leaders from all walks of life. The board supported her vision, and soon, the Morgan Institute became a reality, located in a beautifully designed space with a view of the city skyline. The institute welcomed its first cohort of students, each one brimming with ambition and a desire to make a difference. Alicia would regularly visit to give guest lectures, sharing her journey and teaching the next generation how to lead with heart and vision. Years passed, and Alicia Morgan's influence extended across generations. Her foundation, institute, and businesses continued to thrive, each one dedicated to creating a world where everyone had a fair chance to succeed. The name Alicia Morgan became synonymous with strength, resilience, and compassion, inspiring countless others to pursue their own dreams. Alicia often received letters from young people, thanking her for her work and sharing how her story had encouraged them to overcome their own challenges. She read each letter with pride and humility, knowing that her journey had made a real difference. In her later years, Alicia wrote a memoir, capturing her story from her humble beginnings to her role as a leader and changemaker. The memoir became a bestseller, resonating with readers worldwide and reminding them that adversity could be a powerful catalyst for change. In the final chapter of her life, Alicia reflected on her journey with a sense of peace. She had turned a moment of rejection into a lifetime of opportunity. Not just for herself but for countless others. She had become the woman her parents had dreamed she would be. The woman who changed things not just for herself, but for everyone who came after her. One evening, as Alicia sat on her balcony watching the sun set over the city, she felt a deep sense of contentment. She knew that her legacy would continue, carried forward by those she had inspired and empowered. Alicia Morgan's story was one of resilience, compassion, and the unbreakable belief that true success wasn't just about rising above, but about lifting others up with her. And so, her journey lived on, her impact echoing through the lives of those who, thanks to her, had found open doors where there had once been walls.